Good afternoon, everybody. Rob Treis here with the talk. I'll start off like I always do with all my announcements. Everything's going to be all right. Because a lot of really good things happened in 2020. This was a really good year. I know everybody's always talking about the pandemic and that we're in the midst of tremendous social movement and economic turmoil, and apparently California was on fire for the summer. We had to deal with that. But a lot of, in view of these basically once in a lifetime events that happen to occur in our lifetimes, all at the same time, we should concentrate on the fact that 2020 was a good year. So here are some good things that happened this year. We are using a lot less gasoline, and so pollution is apparently down quite a bit. We somehow, as a country, cranked out 3 vaccines to COVID-19 in less than like 6 or 7 months. These usually take like 5 years to test and then mass produce. These are going to be out in a couple months. We have and speaking of vaccines, a great thing that has come forward is Dr. Fauci. So we love that tiny Italian man for what he does and what he says, and he holds the pandemic light in his hands. So
Yes, he does.
Thank goodness for him. We had a big election. We had a big census. I'll be talking about that in just a little bit. That's what I've been doing with myself for this whole year, which has given me a tremendous amount of perspective. The title of my talk is Decennial Zen. I'm not used to talking in front of you all. I am, but I'm not used to being recorded. So
we had to look it up too, don't we?
I've got a couple people here who are giving me light and spirit, helping me through this. So just all I ask is just you can mute me if you want. Just you can sit in front of your computer for the next 7 minutes. That's all I'm asking for. Everybody knows everyone's coming to the services for the music. So. What else has happened? So Norway, apparently, through an 8-year study that they finally published this year, they figured out how to save their birds from their wind turbines. At least by 70 to 80%. Wow. So a lot of you may not even know about birds. We still have them. They fly around. And as our world progresses more into a alternative energy source lifestyle, can I say energy lifestyle?
That's a thing. Yes.
Norway is really helping us out in one aspect of this, very tiny aspect, in helping us live better with our wind turbines. All they do is paint one blade black, and apparently birds can now see the wind turbines. It has something to do with the way birds see.
Wow.
They see in they don't see like crystal clear like we do. There's like a shearing effect, the way they look around. So, which works as long as they're looking for predators or food, but they were never evolved to look for wind turbines. So the Norwegians are helping us out with that. Another thing that really helped out this year, amazingly so, now bear with me, apparently this little known show called Tiger King on Netflix, in its weird way, brought us all together. In the fact that it was about people who were so awful, but in such a coalescing way that we all could do nothing for about 2 months, at least around in my office, was talk about Tiger King and how horrible these people were. More than Desperate Housewives, more than 90 Day Fiance, was Tiger King of all these, that very odd, strange, thin little man. with his tigers. It doesn't have any tigers anymore, but anyway. This is not a referendum on watching the show. I recommend you don't actually watch it if you want to be a better person. But if you want to relish in Schadenfreude, by all means, please binge watch Tiger King. That brought us together as a nation. Everyone, I think, whether they know it or not, is a better sewer because of masks and because we've had to repair our own sweatpants when they rip as we're binge watching Tiger King. We've become much better sewers, or at least better at hiding the rips in our clothing. We're better cookers, even if it's just ramen noodles. Everyone, a lot more, I would say 20 more million people in America understand how to cook ramen noodles now. That's a good thing. It's bad for salt, but it's a good thing because people now understand how to both clothe and feed themselves because of the pandemic. So, good job, America. Pet adoption is way up. So, I know we have a few dog lovers out there, a few cat lovers, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know who you are. Great job on adopting pets. I mean, I probably, it would be a stretch for me to even adopt a goldfish, or a rock. But apparently rocks all the way up through dogs are being adopted, so that's nice. TikTok. Does anybody know what TikTok is?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, you're like one of 3 people in America right now. Because TikTok, in its own way, has also bound us together as a nation. Because it's blowing up.
It's really true.
It created angst to all the people that I wanted angst created in, and it created love and hope and joy in people that I wanted to experience love, hope, and joy. So, thank you, TikTok. Thank you, China. Crayola this year, they came out with a box of crayons that had nothing but diverse skin tones.
Oh.
So anybody can pick up this box of, I think it's 64 or 128. Every single skin tone in the world you can find in this box. So you don't have to rely on magenta, coloring everybody magenta. Teachers are finally appreciated as both a profession and an institution. Now that we do not have them, this is kind of a good bad thing, but I have a feeling that, and I hope to engage in the teaching profession myself when this is all done come the new year, that teachers will be at least 4% more appreciated when schools are finally back in session. So that was really nice about 2020. The first foreign film to won as Best Picture in the Oscars, Parasite. An amazing movie, not for everybody, very disturbing for different reasons than the Tiger King is disturbing. And it's an amazing, wonderful movie amongst a pantheon of many amazing movies that are being produced now. And on a side note, I'm always saying this, and I know you guys are always dinging me on it, or maybe you're not, but maybe you'll do it after this video. TV is in its second renaissance right now. Yes, there is a tremendous wealth, almost an embarrassment of riches when it comes to what you can watch on television. I did not put that in my category as really great things because we've always watched television. We're always looking for more time to do it. We have it now. And now that we have the time to watch television, we now realize and are awakened at night knowing that there are shows that we will never be able to watch. We will never have time to watch. But amongst this vat of television, there are these little morsels that are floating on top that are just amazing. And I won't get in a conversation with me when it's, a conversation rather than one-on-one. So, and I'll give you like 10 shows that everyone should watch right now. It'll make you a better person. So I mentioned that I worked in the census this year. This is what I did this year. I've had a lot of jobs. I've worked with a lot of people. And I can say that I kind of fell forward into the census, and the way that I advanced in the census was a continuous process of not so much promotion, but just being the only person left standing after everybody else has quit or been fired. We've all been there, maybe. I've both been on the fired end, and also as a person, this just happened to be a time when the census was a trial, everybody. And the main point of my conversation, yes, I've finally gotten to it, is how much I learned after having all these other jobs in the world. The Navy, and I've farmed, and I was a PA for a Hollywood director, and I drove truck, and I've thrown newspapers, and I've done a lot, and I've been around to a lot of places. But the census, the U.S. Census, working with the Decennial, was by far the greatest concentrated wealth of humanity that I've had the pleasure to work with in my entire life. And with that wealth of humanity, you get a wealth of stories that I'm not going to go into here because I'm just talking about good things. You have a wealth of personalities and a diverse group of individuals with which to observe and learn from and interact with each and every single day. So I worked for the census up until the beginning of this month, November, and so I was in it for maybe 10 months. And I joined simply wanting to file papers and answer phones, which I did for about 2 days. And then apparently all the mid-level office staff up and quit, or for some reason just didn't show up. So then I became an operational specialist, and then all the managers up and quit, so then I became a manager. And so after wanting just to sit and file papers and sit at a computer, hoping that I can get paid a decent wage for this for 10 months, I ended up running I was a census field manager, who I was running people who were the ones who were knocking on your door these last couple months. Remember them? Mm-hmm. And management, for all of you who have done management, this was the most amazing management school that I have ever been a part of. And I spent 10 years in the Navy. That is nothing compared to learning how to deal with people who either are really excited about their job or do not want to do their job at all. When COVID hit, for example, this was the crucible of my job, is thank goodness for COVID, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but if COVID hadn't hit and the wildfires hadn't hit and the economy hadn't dumped and everyone hadn't lost their job and everyone started ripping down Civil War memorials, we'd be sitting here just like it was 2019, maybe a little bit more ignorant, maybe a little bit more bored, maybe a little bit less aware of what was happening in the world. COVID hit, took care of all that. There are other political things. I don't want to get into a political conversation, but there were other political things that were happening that were also helping us change. But I'm just going to concentrate on the census and on COVID. So when COVID hit the census, I've been working for the census for about a month and a half. At this point, I was running the operations department. The COVID hit. Nobody knew what to do, just like you and I. Nobody knew what to do. We didn't know what this was. Was this Ebola? Was this just another cold? And in the 100 people that were working in the office, it split right down the middle. You were either thought it was nothing, that this was just going to blow over, that everyone is making much ado about nothing, and you were firmly ensconced in that category, or you were freaking out, and you thought that it was the Black Plague all over again, and that in a month, a third of the world population was going to keel over. And I'm right here in the middle, having to figure out practically what to do about this whole thing. I had a few other people with me, thankfully, but these weren't people who were freaking out, and these weren't people who were in denial. They were people who just didn't want to make a decision. So this is why COVID, this is why I was put in such a Zen mode when I worked for the census, is finding this middle ground, this balance, this practical balance of what to do now that the sky was falling. I had never been through anything like this remotely as difficult before, even in the Navy, even when I was trying to pull my director's truck out of the ditch, even when I thought that I was going to die when I was farming by throwing the tractor. Anyway, nothing ever prepares you for a crisis, everybody. Yeah. And so you understand who you are once you engage the crisis and once you get through the crisis. And so we all have the perspective of now being engaged with COVID, almost being through it. And I would say that everyone can give themselves a pat on the back, because in their own way, what I was going through the census, everyone else was going through in their work environment, in their home environment. We're going through it as a church. We're going through these little mini crises. One big crisis, a little bit of crisis every day. And dealing with this crisis, this is why 2020 is such a great year, is because we understand what a crisis looks like now. Those few people that were stuck in the middle with me, they weren't there to be practical. They weren't there to help me or me to help them come to a good decision. They were frozen. So when you're in the middle and you realize that you are not being pig-headed and you're not in denial, and you have the wherewithal to understand that you're not frozen, you have to make the call. Yeah. You have to help figure things out and find like attitude people just like you, and there's going to be not many of them, depending on the level of the crisis. I'm not going to lecture about, I lost my spot. Anyway, everybody, 2020 is a wonderful year, and it capped itself after we went through all of this. I went through everything with the census and with all the other problems and all the other amazing things that have happened this year. The cherry on top that made me understand that everything was going to be okay was when we landed a spacecraft on an asteroid in our solar system on Bennu, took a sample of this asteroid, something never ever done before. We've had samples of asteroids, but they fall to the earth and they sit. This is a fresh sample that will tell us a tremendous amount of information about what's going on in the solar system, where we came from, where we're going, the really, really, really big questions. And when somebody finds out a little bit more information about answering those really, really, really big questions, I know it's been an amazing year. Yeah. We have to wait about 3 years for the sample to come back, but it's going to be great. So stay cheerful, everybody. You're all wonderful, loving, happy, friendly, amazing people, and you make my life even more amazing than it already is. I love you. Bye.